What's going on, you guys? WhiteFoxTool25 here with another video, and today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately. With the announcement of the Morrowind expansion and some of the other videos I've made talking about the future content for ESO, I keep seeing people mention that they really want to see Skyrim. And it's something that I would really love to see too. Skyrim is obviously close to a lot of our hearts. It was such an amazing game. So I spent some time thinking about it, and I came to the idea of a Skyrim expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online coming next year. And it just made a lot of sense to me, and the more I thought about it, the more I was convinced that we will see a Skyrim expansion next year. So in this video I'm going to tell you guys why I think that, and what a Skyrim expansion might look like. So with the announcement of the Morrowind expansion, they also announced that from now on, we'll be getting 2 DLCs a year, 1 dungeon pack, and also an expansion release every summer. Obviously this year we're getting Morrowind, and I know a lot of people, including me, are really excited for that. But I started thinking about what next year's expansion might be, and to me, Skyrim is really the only thing that makes sense. It's really obvious that ZeniMax is trying really hard to get Morrowind to sell well, not only with the existing ESO community, but also with new players who have never played ESO before. You can start the Morrowind expansion with a completely new character. You don't have to play any of the previous ESO content, and you can just play through Morrowind and never play the Elder Scrolls Online again, or you can play Morrowind first and then move into the rest of the PvE zones and the PvP and things like that. ZeniMax also spent about $1 million on that awesome cinematic trailer we saw, and on top of that they spent about $5 million on a Super Bowl commercial, which again was really cool. So altogether, that's a lot of money on advertising, and it's just really obvious they're trying to push this really hard. We never saw any advertising for ESO when it first launched, especially not during stuff like the Super Bowl. So they really are investing a lot of money, and they're trying really hard to attract a lot of players. And if you think about why they're doing that, most people are really excited about the expansion because it's Morrowind. ESO has an awesome community, and it has a pretty big community, but they would never advertise a normal expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online like this. Because it has the name Morrowind on it, it's drawing a lot of new players who have really good memories of the, third Elder Scrolls game that they loved so much when they were younger and played Morrowind, and they're feeding off that nostalgia to bring players back and into the Elder Scrolls Online. It's a really great strategy, and it's been working really well for them so far. So when you think about what the next expansion next year will be, it makes sense that they would go with the same plan. Just like the name Morrowind attracts new players, the name Skyrim probably attracts even more players. Out of all the Elder Scrolls games, Skyrim definitely sold the best, and it definitely was really popular, and having a Skyrim expansion would just draw in so many new players, even more than this Morrowind expansion would. You could argue that we've seen other places in the Elder Scrolls that they might go back to try to hit that nostalgia, but there really aren't many left because Oblivion is already taken, with Cyrodiil being used for PvP and also for the Dark Brotherhood. And then the only other Providence that's been used in a modern Elder Scrolls game is Skyrim. And that's pretty much why I think that Skyrim will be the next expansion next year. Again, to me it makes a lot of sense from a business standpoint, and I think the player base would be really happy with it too. Let's move into what a Skyrim expansion might look like. First off, I know a lot of people will ask this, but there aren't going to be dragons, sadly. It always gets brought up, but they weren't around in this time period, and just lore-wise it really doesn't make any sense. We already have East March in the game and the Rift. Those were great zones and I loved playing with them. And in terms of zones, that leaves Falkreach, Solitude, Morthal, Dawnstar, Markarth, Whiterun, and Winterhold. I know some of those aren't the whole names of the city names, but just because I think a lot of people are more familiar with the city names, I just listed those. But out of all of those, the only really big cities are Markarth, Whiterun, and Solitude. The rest are honestly more like towns in my opinion. I never thought of them as cities. I'm guessing we'll see at least one of those bigger holds, like I said, Markarth, Whiterun, or Solitude in the expansion, because they always seem to try to have at least one big city in a zone. It's possible we could get all of Skyrim, but I sort of doubt it. If you look at the size of Vardenfell, it is kind of the size of the rest of Skyrim, but it's important to remember that a lot of Vardenfell will be restricted because of the Red Mountain, and I don't think the zone is going to be really as big as it might look on the game map. But we'll have to wait and see for that. I think we'll definitely get a lot of these holds in one zone. I'm just not sure if we'll get all of them. If I had to guess, I'd say we're either going to get Solitude, Morthal, Dawnstar, and Winterhold all in one package, or I think we'll see Whiterun, Markarth, and Falkreach. We could get other combinations, but just the way the map is laid out, I think that's probably the most likely two options. Another thing to keep in mind is that the College of Winterhold is around at this time, so if we do see Winterhold, it's definitely possible we'll see that in the expansion. Winterhold also wasn't always as sad and small as it is in Skyrim. It used to be a lot bigger until part of the city fell into the ocean. If we do see it in ESO, it will be a lot bigger and expected to be a lot nicer of a city. It would also make sense if spellcrafting came with the College of Winterhold. They've said they're trying to put new systems in with these expansions that will come every year. Spellcrafting is something they've been working on, and it would just make sense for it to come with the College of Winterhold. I don't think that's how they planned it, but again, it would make sense if that came in as a package deal with a Skyrim expansion. At this time, Markarth is also controlled by Reachmen. They conspire with Mogul Ball. We saw some of them in ESO in the Rift as the Bloodthorn cult. If we do see Markarth in ESO, we'll definitely have to deal with them, which is cool because I always thought the conflict between the Nords and the Reachmen was really interesting. In terms of the main story, I'm not too sure what it will look like, but I'm guessing it will somewhat continue the main storyline with Mogul Ball and the battle against the Daedric princes, kinda like I expect Vardenfell to do too. The last thing I want to mention is if you can't wait for more Skyrim and ESO, it looks like we'll definitely be getting a Nord dungeon pack coming quarter 3. That'll have 2 dungeons that take place in Skyrim, so you have that to look forward to. That is pretty much it for the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this idea. If you guys liked it, hit the like button, and if you want to see more ESO content and content on RPGs, MMOs, and games like that, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.